How did Richard Rawlings seem to you? The businessman from Fast and Loud who talks quickly and is crazy about carob and is known for flipping cars and making big deals has always been bigger than life. But there's a lot more to the man behind the camera than his loud attitude and love of old cars. And today we're going to look more closely at his life, from his childhood to the man he is now. You haven't seen this side of Richard Rawlings before, so stay put. Richard Rawlings isn't just another car fanatic. He's a natural force that turned his love of music into a business. In America, the founder of Gas Monkey Garage blazed onto TV screens and left an indelible mark on car culture. He became one of the most recognized faces in automotive entertainment. Teenage Richard, born in Fort Worth, Texas in 1969, breathed in motor oil before he could walk. In the beginning, going to car shows with his dad sowed the seeds of what would become an obsession. Richard was already figuring out how real cars worked while other kids played with toy cars. It wasn't just cars in his dreams by age 14, he had one. That first car wasn't just a way to get around, it was the start of a reputation he had no idea he would have. Growing up in Texas shaped Richard in ways that would later shape how he does business and how he acts on screen. The Texas swagger you can't miss is real. It's built into his DNA. Richard began to go in a very different direction after finishing from Eastern Hills High School. His story is so interesting because it shows how the road ahead would be full of changes, breakdowns, and twists. There was a time when camera crews was following Richard around like a hawk. He started Lincoln Press, a printing and advertising business, in 1999. This showed that his desire to be an entrepreneur went beyond carburetors and frames. It may seem very different from building custom hot cars, but Richard learned a lot about business and branding in the printing business that would help him later. Richard was building his printing business at the same time that he was pursuing his true interest. During these important years in his life, both his work and personal life moved quickly. Married Karen Grames for a short time in 1993, but they split up after only 1 year. Then Richard married Suzanne Marie Mariel in Las Vegas in 1999, the same year he started Lincoln Press. Their marriage turned into its own difficult journey when they got divorced in 2009. Remarried in 2015, and in 2019, they announced their split on Twitter. Richard's drive never changed, even when his personal life was rough. In 2002, Richard made the biggest risk of his life, which changed everything. He opened Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas, putting all of his money on his ability to make rusty metal cars that look great. After 2 years, he sold Lincoln Press and put all of his money into his car dreams. It was a big risk that would change not only his life, but also the whole world of car TV. Gas Monkey Garage wasn't just another place to fix things. Richard had a bigger idea. He wanted to make a place where old cars could be brought back to life with current performance features, while still keeping their classic look. It was more than just fixing things up, it was about making new plans. Richard didn't just want to fix old cars, he wished to give them new life and make them better than they were when they came from the plant. In the beginning, things at Gas Monkey weren't very exciting. In a small space, Richard and his small group of workers worked hard on any job they could find. There were times of uncertainty, money problems, and problems that would have made most people look for a more stable job. Richard isn't like most people though. People who know Richard Rawlings well say that he is determined to complete a task. Richard is different from many other skilled techs and car fans because he knows how to run a business and build a brand. Gas Monkey Garage has never just been a shop. It was the start of a brand. The unique monkey image, the way of thinking, and the way things look were all carefully chosen. It was clear to Richard that in a crowded market, personality and company identity could be just as important as the work itself. Then there was the moment that made Richard famous all over the world, going from being a neighborhood car guy to a famous person. The Discovery Channel tried a show in 2012 that was based on Gas Monkey Garage. The recipe for Fast and Loud was anything but subtle when it first came out. The show combined Richard's out-of-this-world personality with the amazing changes that Gas Monkey was making to cars and the drama that comes with having to meet tight schedules and play for high stakes. People in America and then around the world just couldn't get enough. Not only did Fast and Loud do well, it became a culture phenomenon and ran for an amazing 16 seasons. The show's concept was easy to understand. Richard and his team would find old cars that had been ignored and were often in shockingly bad shape. They would then fix them up and sell them for a profit. But the real magic was in the people, their love, and the problems that always came up during repairs. Richard's vision, business sense, and straightforward attitude made for a great time. A lot of people knew Richard from the show, but fame didn't come without problems. The attention made everything in his life more intense. What is good, what is bad, and what is debatable. All of a sudden, everyone knew the man who used to work hard to keep his shop open. Gas Monkey stuff flew off the shelves. Fans lined up to get autographs, and Richard was tinkering with his dad, which was something he could never have thought in the beginning. With his new platform, Richard took the Gas Monkey brand outside of the garage. He opened Gas Monkey Bar and Grill in Northwest Dallas in September 2013, making it a spot where car fans could meet, listen to live music, and live the Gas Monkey lifestyle. The place was a big hit right away, so in March 2014, a second one opened at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. The kingdom was expanding very quickly. But Richard's story isn't just one of always being successful. At Gas Monkey Bar and Grill, things were getting tense behind the scenes. What started out as an exciting growth of the brand turned into nasty lawsuits in the end. A lawsuit that the bar and its managing member Daniel Flitty filed says that Richard's actions caused a lot of problems before the venue even opened. Richard is said to have treated construction workers badly, with one email comparing his behavior to that of a spoiled 13-year-old. After things got worse, Flitty told Richard he couldn't be on the building site so the work could continue without any problems. According to the case, once the bar opened, Richard kept trying to get involved with running it and take control away from Flitty. The fight turned into allegations of financial wrongdoing. Richard is said to have made false claims that Flitty was stealing from him. Even though Flitty asked Richard to look at the financial records himself, things were getting worse. In 2017, the situation hit a breaking point when it was said that a third party was about to buy the rights to Gas Monkey Bar and Grill and Gas Monkey Live. The lawsuit says that Richard's charges of dishonesty broke up the deal, even though he had already tried to buy the rights himself but couldn't because he didn't have enough money. Richard, the production company for Fast and Loud, and Gas Monkey Holdings were finally sued for $6 million because of the legal battle. The claims against Richard were thrown out by his lawyer, who said that the bar had been breaking their license agreement from the start, and that the case was just a made-up claim as a last-ditch effort to try to get the license back. There's one more cool thing about Richard that you don't know. After all these years, Richard has never been afraid of a task or an adventure. Before he became famous on TV, Richard and his co-pilot Dennis Collins are said to have broken the Cannonball Run record in May 2007. This was an event that car fans had been talking about for decades. The record for the unofficial, very illegal race across the country from New York City to Los Angeles was 32 hours and 51 minutes, which was set in 1979. Richard and Dennis bet their competitor Jay Rica that they could beat the time in their 2007 Ferrari 550 that had been changed and had extra fuel cells added to make stops less frequent. Their final time was given as 31 hours and 59 minutes, but this claim is still being debated because of problems with how the distance was calculated and how the time was kept. Whether the record stands in the annals of underground racing history or not, Richard's try says a lot about how competitive and daring he is. While Fast and Loud continued to get the most viewers, Richard's TV profile grew in 2017 with Garage Rehab. Richard and his co-hosts Russell Holmes and Chris Stevens traveled across America to help struggling car shops get back on track for the show. The idea was one that Richard pitched to Discovery around 2015, showing that he knew his skills could be used for more than just making cars. The show showed Richard's skills in a new way, emphasizing his business sense and desire to assist others in the car industry in their endeavors. Fast and Loud had a great run for 8 years, with 16 exciting seasons. It ended in 2020. Fans of cars and people who just like to watch TV liked it a lot. It was fun to watch every week, because Richard Rawlings had a big personality, and the builds and cars were cool. That's why many fans didn't understand why the show finished so quickly. The show looked like it could have gone on for a long time. It was a while before anyone knew why it would end. Some people made guesses. Richard might have been tired. The shop might have wanted to do something else. Or perhaps the numbers went down. But none of that really made sense. While Richard was on Joe Rogan's podcast, things became more clear. Richard told the interviewer what had been going on behind the scenes. He said that his deal with the Discovery Channel made things pretty hard, even though the show looked like a lot of fun. If he said anything bad about the network, he could be fined $25,000. This was written into the contract. That's right, he could lose as much as a new car with just one slip-up. Richard said he felt like he couldn't really say what he thought because of that. After a while, it didn't feel right that he couldn't say what he liked or didn't like. Even though he still loved cars, the show became more of a chore than a fun thing to do. It was hard for him to decide, but he chose to move on. Richard's ideas for Gas Monkey had grown beyond what a normal TV show could include, which was even more important. In order to meet the terms of his contract, he was not allowed to explore chances to grow into podcasting and other media businesses. Richard made the brave choice to leave Discovery and seek creative freedom as a separate entity after thinking about his options. He was taking a huge risk when he quit the platform that made him popular. Richard has never been one to play it safe though. Even though Fast and Loud was over, Richard was still seen by a lot of people. Not at all. He changed his attention to YouTube and social media, where he could make content on his own terms without having to follow the rules of the networks. Richard's popularity wasn't limited to standard TV, as shown by the fact that the Gas Monkey Garage YouTube channel quickly gained a large following. This move to digital media gave him a chance to connect with fans more directly and try out new types of material that wouldn't have been possible on a Discovery Channel show. Richard's desire to be an entrepreneur keeps pushing new projects forward. Gas Monkey Garage became the title sponsor for Peter Hickman and FHO Racing at the famous Isle of Man TT races in 2022. This brought the brand's reach into motorsports around the world. In addition, he organized a huge sale of a big part of his own car collection through Bring a Trailer. This raised money that he used to buy better cars. Instead of being satisfied with what he has already done, Richard keeps improving his business plan and brand identity. It's not just Richard Rawlings' technical knowledge or business success that makes him so interesting in the world of cars, it's also how honest he is. You get exactly what you see when you watch him bargain over a rusty Chevy in a forgotten Texas barn, or when you listen to him talk about business. The beard, the tattoos, and the straightforward way of talking are all real and not made up for TV. Richard is just being Richard. His rise from a kid in Fort Worth who was crazy about cars to a world brand and TV star is the American dream. Richard did not receive any money or connections. With vision, grit, and a never-ending work ethic, he built everything from the ground up. In both work and personal life, he has made mistakes along the way, but his strength has always helped him get back on track. Beyond the cars he's made, Richard has had a big effect on the culture of cars. He helped make car repair more open to everyone by making Fast and Loud. Before, this was thought to be an exclusive hobby. At the same time that the show became famous, people became interested in old American muscle cars and hot rods again. As a new generation found the joys of car history, prices for some models went through the roof. As a result, Gas Monkey Garage has become a place where car lovers from all over the world come to visit. What began as a small shop has grown into a dream destination for car fans where they can see amazing machines and maybe even see the man himself. Gas Monkey is now a brand name for goods, drinks, and even energy drinks. That Richard knows his attraction goes beyond the niche of cars is proof of that. Richard is successful because he naturally knows what makes people tick. He knows that cars are more than just ways to get around. They carry feelings and memories, and are things that people want. Gas Monkey doesn't just replace parts and paint when they fix up a car, they are making new stories and bringing old dreams back to life. Richard's deep emotional connection to cars shines through in everything he does and connects with both watchers and customers. At Gas Monkey Garage, Richard has always been a hands-on boss. Even though he was famous, he never turned into an absentee boss who gave everything to other people. He was still very involved in important choices, especially about which vehicles to buy and how to change them. This dedication to quality control made sure that every car that left the shop lived up to the Gas Monkey name, which was becoming more and more well-known. Gas Monkey Garage's relationships became almost as well-known as the cars themselves. People were interested in Richard's friendship and business relationship with Aaron Kaufman, the master mechanic who played a lead role in Fast and Loud. Richard's business sense and eye for opportunity, along with Aaron's technical brilliance and imagination, made them a dynamic pair whose skills could turn automotive nightmares into dreams. It was the end of an age when Aaron finally left to go after his own goals. Richard changed and grew though, and he brought in new talent. Some people have said bad things about Richard's life. Some car fans don't like some Gas Monkey builds because they say they sometimes change history to make the car look more modern. Others have questioned how realistic his TV show is, saying that some of the drama was made up for extra entertainment value. He has been portrayed in a less positive way in some business disputes, such as the Gas Monkey Bar and Grill lawsuit. But Richard has been strong through it all, able to deal with criticism while keeping true to his main goal. The effects of CO-19 were unprecedented and caused problems for companies all over the world, including Gas Monkey. Richard was leaving Discovery Channel at the same time as the pandemic, which made an already risky move even more difficult. But as is typical of how Richard dealt with problems, he didn't just get through this time. He rethought his business plan and came out of it stronger. He put more effort into making digital content when it was hard to make traditional entertainment. Richard's plans for Gas Monkey are still changing as time goes on. Since he is no longer bound by network contracts, he can work on projects and form partnerships that are true to his interests. With this greater freedom, he has been able to try out more builds, get more involved in the community, and talk to his audience honestly. In the past, TV producers might have had the final say on which stories were shown. Now Richard has full power over his story. The story of Richard Rawlings is still being written. One chapter ends and a new one begins with every new project, company, or car discovery. There has never been a time when this man, who has always had drive and desire, could sit still. What's ahead will surely bring more thrills, challenges, and amazing cars that have been saved from destruction and brought back to life. Richard's story, from buying his first car when he was 14 to becoming a global brand known by millions, shows what can happen when passion meets persistence. The boy who used to go to car shows with his dad is now a big deal in the business that first interested him as a kid. One thing is for sure, Gas Monkey Garage will keep the engines roaring as the brand grows into new areas. No matter where Richard Rawlings goes next, it will be a wild ride. What do you think about Richard Rawlings? Don't forget to join to this channel if you haven't already, and feel free to say what you think in the comments. We'll see you next time.